Namaste, good day to all my students. In this lecture, I will explain data and analytics for IoT, Internet of Things, module 4. Before going to this module, first of all, you should understand that what is mean by data and what is mean by analytics. For that, I will take a simple example. All of you are using WhatsApp. Daily you are sending the messages. Which are the forms of messages you are sending? You can send video messages, you can send audio messages, you can type something, that one we will call as text messages, or you can send images. These are different forms of data we will call. I will repeat, one is audio, one is video, one is text, one is image. And this all the forms of data daily you are sending through the WhatsApp, and it is stored in WhatsApp server. Now I want to find it out. What is the character of a one student from your class? How I can find it out? First, I have to collect all the data what you are sending to WhatsApp. This all the forms of data, audio, video, text, image. And these all the forms of data I can give to different analytics tools. There are different forms of analytics tool is there. That tools I can give your data. And the tool is going to find it out, the character and of you, and it is going to give the result to me so that I can understand what is the character of you. That is the use of analytics tools. In this lecture, I will explain different analytics tools which was explained in David Haynes textbook. Again, like module 3, we are using the content from first textbook, David Haynes. And the subject code already you know, it is 15 CS 81. Now we will go to our first slide. Data and analytics for IoT. Already I given the introduction. IoT networks might well resemble the trouble with tribbles. What is the meaning of trouble with tribbles? Attractive, initially slow, moving outwards, afterwards rapidly growing. That is the thing here. Because initially the number of, once you understand about the network, or very simple thing, initially while you are using the WhatsApp, you doesn't know how to send. You may study that one. That time you may send very less number of messages. After that, you are very familiar with that one software, WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram. After that, you are sending more number of messages. What is the problem here? If you are sending more number of messages, that many messages is going to generate, that all the messages it is going to store in the server, right? That's why it is saying initially it will be slow, afterwards it is rapidly growing. A fast growing it's going to happen. At first, IoT data is just a curiosity, because already you know that different forms of sensors we are going to use in mobile phones, in engines, in different ways. We have a lot of examples. That's why I'm not going to explain everything in this particular slide. Once it is moving to the slide, you will understand clearly. That's why now most of the examples now I am not going to say. You will understand later. One thing I can say, the example of a mobile phone. Lot of sensors are there. From each sensors, a lot of data are going to generate. This all the data, if you are going to store simply, there is no use. From that particular data, we have to find it out so many things from that particular data. Using that one, lot of useful things we can do in the future. That's why this all the form of data which is generating daily should handle correctly. That means it have to store perfectly on some place, or while moving itself you can analytics, you can do the analytics, or while storing you can do the analytics. There are two forms that I am going to discuss later. One is while moving the data in the network itself, you can do the analytics, or after storing the data, you can do the analytics. One thing I can say here is that data should not waste, have to be stored in a perfect place. Next one, however, given time as more and more devices are adding to the IoT network, already we know that the data what is generating from the IoT, it is more compared with any other network. And daily it is going to add more and more devices into the network, Internet of Things network. And the data which is going to generate will be very high. That only it is saying here. Not only does this data begin to consume precious network bandwidth. Already you know that this data is going to generate. For example, the data it is generated in Puttur, IoT network I developed in Puttur. And data it is going to store in Delhi server. Then each data have to be moved from Puttur to Delhi. Definitely the network bandwidth is required. Without bandwidth, the data cannot be able to move. If this bandwidth utilization, it is going to become more. And that bandwidth utilization, if it is less, or bandwidth it is not getting at that particular time to send the data, then lot of data is going to lose. That are the problems we are facing in IoT network. That is why always have to be see that the network also working fine or not. That's why we having a concept called as network analytics. That also I am going to discuss later. Not even IoT analytics, we having a concept called as network analytics also. Because these data have to be generated in Puttur, have to be moved to up to Delhi. In the network is getting any problem or not, also we have to find it out, or we have to do the analytics. That's why that is called as network analytics. And what are the data we are going to get? That data have to be processed sometimes in the server side, and we have to be sort that particular data. Because if I am getting the data in an IoT network, maybe it is connected with a temperature sensor, connected with a humidity sensor, and it is connected with some other forms of other sensors also. Now this temperature sensor have to be stored in one place. Humidity, what it is going to get, it have to be stored in other place. That's why it have to sort. Then we have to analyze that particular data with the help of different analytics tools. Because manually can we do the analytics or not? It is impossible. Why? The amount of data which is generated, it is more due to that one. And if you done a better analytics, in the case of business it is speaking, and we can find it out, the business insights, so that the business can be improved. I will take one example. I am an owner of one company. I am producing three products. Now, I want to find it out which product is going to attract to the people, or which product can sell more in future. That means daily I am taking the data, how much my product it is selling. From that data, I am going to give that particular data to some analytics tools, and it will give the result. From that result, I can find it out that one of my product, that is example I am saying, one of the product, it is purchasing by more number of people, and I can find it out in which area the people are purchasing. Then I can produce more number of product of that particular kind. I can send to that particular area. Like that, so many business insights I can find it out, and I can improve my business. Next one. Yeah, the data have to be organized, have to be arranged in a proper order, and should be controlled also. That is very important here, because the data it is going to generate, it will be sometimes it will be in an uncontrolled manner. That is a major problem. New approach to data analytics is needed for Internet of Things, because what are the standard approaches what we are going to do in the analytics in the IT industry may not be sufficient for us to do the analytics in Internet of Things. That is the end of the first topic. This is the second topic. And you do not think that the topic wise, because second topic is only, it is only 2 lines are there. Because that second topic continuation or different analytics, it is going to explain in the third one, right? Because third one nearly too much contents are there. It will take a long time to explain this all the contents. And already I know that you are studying in this semester one subject called as big data. Most of the concepts what you studied, it will come here. Or in the previous semester you studied about machine learning. That also some of the concept is going to come here. That's why understanding this module, it will be very easy for your people. Anyway, I will go back to the topic. An introduction to data analytics for IoT. Internet of Things, and discuss the difference between structured and unstructured data. What is here is, first of all, there are 3 types of data we have. What are the data I explained, like audio, video, text, image? It is divided into some forms. One is structured, one is unstructured, and one more is there, it is semi-structured. That we will discuss later, what is semi-structured, but structured and unstructured detail it is given in the upcoming slides, right? Structure means it is RDMS data, relational database data. Already you studied Oracle database. That all are structured form because it is having a schema. What is schema? Schema is that particular table format. In the table format, we will store the data as rows and each having some columns. Each column we have to fill the fields. It is a form of structured data. What is unstructured data? Unstructured data is this audio, video, image. These all are unstructured data. And text, what we are typing in the Microsoft Word document, these all are unstructured form of data. And we have to discuss here how the analytics related to IoT data. The first one is the third topic, it is machine learning. Once you have the data, what do you do with it? Once you got the data, what you can do with that particular data? And how you can find it out, the business insights, already I explained, from that particular data. That is very important. Explain major type of machine learning that are used to gain business insights from IoT data. There are different forms of machine learning techniques it is going to explain in the upcoming slides. So that with the help of some new business insights can be find it out from the IoT data. One is big data. Already you are studying in this semester, big data. So many big data analytics tools you have. Some of the examples, one is Hadoop. And this Hadoop is already you studied in the previous semester also in cloud computing, Hadoop. Next is NoSQL, not only SQL, that is a full form. MapReduce and MPP, massively parallel processing database. These are some of the technologies which is using for analytics. Now one more concept you have, it is edge streaming analytics. What is meant by edge streaming? It is needed or not? That is the question here. Yes, it's needed, very important. Because now again I will take the example. In Puttur, I generated a IoT network, or I created a IoT network. Daily I am sending 50 MB of data to the cloud. which is there in the Delhi. And some of the data are not that much important. That how to filter this data. And this 50 MB of data, which is moving to Delhi, it will consume the bandwidth, there is no doubt. Now my aim is to reduce the bandwidth consumption in my network. What I can do is, in Puttur itself, first analytics I will execute. And already you know that from the IoT network, so first the data may be going to a gateway. That is a first collection point of data. It may be a router also. In that router, I can do the analytics, or I can do the analytics in a gateway, which is there in the local area, or which is there in that where I generated the IoT network. I will do the first analytics. Which are the very important data are there? That particular data only I will send to Delhi. While I am doing, out of 50 MB data, 30 MB data is important for me, and remaining 20 MB of data is not important. That type of data I can drop in Puttur itself, or I can store in local server. I can store in Puttur itself, so that I can utilize my bandwidth. That is the edge streaming analytics. Next, already I told network analytics, because all the data are going through the networks and bandwidth consumption is there. Some congestion can be happen. Congestion is traffic of data. These all the things, while moving the data, I have to do the analytics. That type of analytics I can go and say that it is a form of network analytics. I hope it's clear. Next one. Nextflow can help you better understand the function of the overall system and the securities which is there in the system. One is I can increase the security level, because I can get to know that how the data is moving and which of the devices the data is moving, and that what type of device it is that to while moving the data, what type of device it is there, and how the data is handling by that particular device. And overall system behavior I can find it out. And also, while it is seeing that one, I can understand about that particular data, so that I can put more security features into my network to protect my data, heightening the security features. That's it. And next is an introduction to data analytics for IoT. This is the second biggest topic that we will see here. The creation of massive amount of data. Already we know that massive amount of data which is producing from the sensor. It is a big challenge for us to transport the data. Transport means movement of the data from IoT network to the cloud. Most of the time we are going to store in the cloud, or we can store in locally also. That's why that transportation, movement of data is a big challenge for us. Why the flood of data is going to generate? That's why I told the amount of data which is going to generate will be very high. We will take the example of a commercial aviation industry. In the case of aircraft, so many sensors we are going to use there. One example it is given here. Modern jet engine having thousands of sensors. Per day, a modern jet engine will produce 10 GB of data. A single modern jet engine, that is a case of a single one, it will produce 10 GB of data per second, not per day. What I said was wrong. It is per second. Just to think that. Per second, one jet engine is producing 10 GB. And one diagram it is given here. For example, modern jet engine similar to one shown in figure 7.1 may be equipped with around 5,000 sensors. And new modern one engine it is showing here. I will show the diagram. This is the new modern engine. One example jet engine it is showing. There some 5,000 sensors. That is not a big deal, 5,000. Maybe we are going to see the lakhs of sensors also. But one thing is this 5,000 sensor, it is going to produce the data per second or per millisecond. This all the forms of data is going to generate. That is very important here. Another one, twin engine commercial aircraft. On average 8 hours per day. That means on average, this engine is going to work for 8 hours per day. It will generate 500 terabytes of data daily. It's very terrific. It's a case of a single one. 500 terabytes of data daily it's going to generate. That is a major problem of Internet of Things, because these sensors, it's going to generate more amount of data. And we have to handle this data very carefully. And another one example, a single wing of a modern jumbo jet. Single wing, one wing, it having two wings. In the case of one wing, having 10,000 sensors. That means this 10,000 sensors is going to produce huge amount of data that we have to see, right? A potential for petabytes, 10 power 15, or we can say 2 power 50 bytes is going to generate per day from a commercial airplane. Think about that. It's too high. Across the world, approximately 100,000 commercial flights per day. Per day, 100,000 commercial flight, or 1 lakh commercial flights are there per day. It is flying. Then how much data it is going to produce for 1 2 power 50? 1 lakh into 2 power 50. We cannot able to think that particular data. And this all the data we have to store. And we have to do the analytics so that that flight having any problem while flying. And what are the things we, and so many other things also. Cloud, what is the amount of cloud is there in the air? Everything we can find it out. The amount of data, IoT data coming just from the commercial airline business is more. That's a very simple thing I should say here. Not all data is same. That is a major problem, because this many sensors are producing, or this many sensors we are going to keep. Different forms of sensors is going to produce different forms of data. It's not even the textual data. Maybe one is going to produce the video, one is going to produce the audio, one is going to produce the image form of data. And these all the forms of data it is producing bulkily. This all the form of data have to be stored in a perfect place and have to do the analytics. This all are not a simple deal to do. That's all it is explaining. How to characterize or how to divide this data. And data are again structured and unstructured. Something we will call it as data is on motion and data is on rest. These 4 topics now we have to discuss. One is what are structured form of data, what is unstructured form of data, what is the data in motion, and what is the data at rest. First form, structure versus unstructured. Example, I will show you this one so that you will understand. One is spreadsheet databases, Oracle database, MySQL database, SQL Server database. These all are structured form of data. Why? It having a particular structure. You see here, table format, row and column. And each cell we are going to store. Another one is spreadsheet. What is spreadsheet? It's nothing but our Excel sheet in Microsoft Word, Excel sheet. Each one we will call as a cell. In the cell we can store the data. Right? That is the thing of structured data. It is a RDMS format, Relational Database Management System. Next, unstructured form of data. It is text, paragraph of text, what we are typing and sending through WhatsApp. Your images, video, speech. Speech means you can say it's an audio form. These all are unstructured form of data. Already I explained these all the things. Here I will say pressure, humidity from the sensor. It can be a structured form of data and we can store as a structure. All right. And from this everything we can get the business decisions. Analytics have to be executed and we can find out the business decisions. And banking transaction, what we are doing, sending some 1,000 rupees, is going to store as in the structured form only. And what are the invoices we are sending for purchase order? These all are structured. And log files, how much in the particular computer, at what time you are logging, how much at what time you are log off. These all the forms of data it is storing in your computer. That is login, log files, and router configurations. Our router, which is working in the network layer, its configuration data. These all are structured form of data. And this structured form of data for analytics is very easy. Microsoft Word and so on, it is very easy to do. Now this is our form. It is unstructured form of data, text, speech, image, and video. Next very important thing here, it is 80% of our data is not structured. It is unstructured data. Already you know that analytics of unstructured data is a big headache. It's very difficult to do. And what I am going to say here is 80% of the business data, it is unstructured. Cognitive computing, that's a computing method. What is that? Cognitive computing? Using self-learning algorithm that use data mining, pattern recognition, and natural language processing. Data mining. What is the data it's going to generate? It is going to mine. It is going to depth of that particular data, and we are finding the new insights from that particular data and new knowledge. We are going to find it out from that particular data. And some patterns are given from that particular image we are using in the image processing. From that pattern, we are going to identify or we are going to recognize something from that pattern. These all are form of cognitive computing. One more is natural language processing. I'm speaking now. It is going to give my speech to some data analytics tool. It is going to understand what I am saying. Each word meaning it is going to understand by a system that is called as natural language processing. These are all the things I explained here. I hope you can understand while reading. And next thing is from the now my image I took and I'm going to give to the data analytics tool. From the facial image, it is going to identify me, not even human as an identifying, which way I am explaining. Next thing is from that eye movement, it is going to identify I am sleepy or not, I am happy or not, I am sad or not. These are all the things it is going to find it out from the images and how I am rendering the things. And what is the behavior, what I am doing. If I am getting that video or video also if I am going to give as the input, what is the behavior of that particular person. These all the things can be find it out with the help of analytics tools. Next one. Already I told structured data analytics, it's very easy, but unstructured form of data analytics have to be executed. It's very difficult. That is structured and unstructured form of data. The next is data in motion versus data at rest. Data in motion, IoT is generated the data is moving to the cloud, very far cloud, which is very far from where it is generating the data. Maybe 1,000 kilometers, maybe more than that kilometer it have to travel. One is, while moving that particular data, I should do the analytics. But traditional form of analytics is not data in motion. It is data at rest. In a cloud, in a server, the data it is already stored. There the analytics is going to execute. Or in other form is the data it is stored in my hard disk. There I am going to do the analytics. Data it is stored in my USB drive. There I am going to do the analytics. These all are data at rest. Data are motion also you understood. Data at rest is client server exchange through the web server. Data, notice data is rest, that is data of motion, sorry. Motion means in the web browser, in the Google, I am requesting something. It is going and it is fetching the data from the particular server, and the data movement it is going to happen. That is the example of data in motion. And already I took the examples of here it is already given data at rest charts. We can do the processing at edge. We can do the processing at fork. Edge means we can do the processing at the sensor itself. Fork means we can do the processing at the gateway. These are all the things we discussed in the previous lectures also. That's why I'm not going to the depth of that one. What is meant by edge computing? What is meant by fork computing, etc. And there are different tools we have: Spark, Storm, Flink. These are all the three tools what it is explaining. We have in the explanation also for that one. That is for store data analytics: Spark, Storm, and Flink. Data at rest in IoT network can be typically found in IoT brokers or in some sort of storage. There are so many IoT brokers are there. What data it is going to generate, it is stored in the broker. Who want that particular data, they can subscribe it. While subscribing, broker is going to send that particular data to the subscriber. That is also a form of storage or brokers technology. That is data at rest. MyRead tools are there. There are different forms of tools we have for relational database. It's nothing but the structured form of data. But for the unstructured amount of data or unstructured processing of data also, we have different tools. One of the best known of these tools is Hadoop. Hadoop not only helps with data processing, but also data storage. Next topic is IoT data analytics overview, just an overview. IoT data from smart object is realized only when the analysis of data leads to action. It's very important. If storing this amount of terabytes of data, there is no use. Find out the data, analytics the data, and how to do the actions for that particular data. In the case of business, the people want the particular product, the product is not producing. What is the use? People are purchasing that particular data, or particular not even data also can be purchased. I'm saying again, taking the example of the product. The people are purchasing that particular product, and analytics tools is executing, and it is getting to know that this particular data is liked by so many people, or this particular product is liked by so many people. Then the producer have to produce that particular data. That is the action have to be due on that particular data. Data analysis is typically broken down by types of result that can be produced. Some of the example, 4 type of data analytics result it is going to show in the next one. This is a thing here. We have to discuss each one detailedly. Descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. What is descriptive? And these are the different forms of data. It can be video, social media data. We can take it as WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, and geolocation, where exactly the location is going to get. CRM, ERP, enterprise resource planning projects. These all are customer relationship management. These are the different forms of data with what we can get it. Descriptive means what is happening. We have to find it out. Diagnostic means why it is happening like that. Predictive means what is likely to happen from our side. Prescriptive means what should I do about it. Detailed explanation is there. One by one we will go. What is descriptive data analytics tells what is happening either now or in the past. That means it will say only about the present as well as past, not future. A thermometer which is kept in a truck you can say as a lorry, it will report the temperature value every second. And we can pull this data at any moment to gain insight into the current operating condition of the truck. What is the current operation condition of the engine of the truck? We can find it out with the help of the data which is going to get it from the temperature sensor which is attached with that particular engine. If the temperature value is too high, we have to say that the current situation, the temperature value of too high, then I should do some cooling. Maybe it is due to the large load which is there in that lorry. That so many things are there. We can find it out from that one. That is about descriptive. Next is diagnostic. It is an interesting one. Why diagnostic is required? We will take the example. Same temperature sensor. You may wonder that truck engine or lorry engine failed. Diagnostic analytics may show that temperature of the engine was too high. Once the engine was failed, we are doing the analytics, then we will getting to know that at that time we are doing the analytics, we will getting to that due to the overheat of the engine, it is going to stop. Apply the diagnostic analysis across the data generated by the wide range of smart objects can provide a clear picture of why the problem or event occurred. We will getting to know that why that problem, why the engine was stopped, it is occurred, we will get to know very clearly. The previous one, descriptive and diagnostic, there is a difference. Descriptive means current situation we are finding and we can getting to know that what is the temperature. We are not going to the depth of that one. But in the second case, once the engine is off, from that particular previous data, we are going to find out what was the actual problem happened to that engine. That's it. Next is predictive. It is saying about the future. We can identify the problem which can be happen in the future. Again, that same example, truck engine or lorry engine. What is the remaining life? Because temperature we are going to getting per day, and we can find it out what is the remaining life of that particular engine. How many years that engine can be work. So that if before getting the problem to that particular engine, we can replace that particular engine. That is the next thing. Next is prescriptive. Prescriptive analysis goes a step beyond predictive. It will cross predictive and it is better than the predictive. It will say what are the upcoming problems due to the temperature, as well as it will give the recommendation. You can do like this. or otherwise you can do like this. These are the options for you. If you are doing like that, your engine lifetime is going to improve. That also it is going to give by prescriptive. Cost efficient manner, we can handle it. Or we can, maybe I want that truck for 1 more year only. I do not want to change that particular engine, or I can go with a rent engine. It's like that I can go. Both predictive and prescriptive analysis are more resource intensive and increase the complexity, because it is saying about the future also. That's why it is complex. But the value they provide is much greater than the value from descriptive and diagnostic. And the value, what is the value means, it's not that money. What is the knowledge, what it is going to provide? It will be more than descriptive and diagnostic, because it is going to give for the future one. Figure 7.4. This is a figure 7.4. Value, it is more for prescriptive, already you know. Then next one is predictive, then diagnostic, and then descriptive. That about that one. We will go to the next one. IoT data analytics challenges, because definitely there are a lot of challenges for us, because all the data which are not generating, like RDMS, structure, unstructured, data in motion, data is stored form of data. A lot of problems we have. We cannot able to use always traditional like RDMS now. That only it is explaining here. Relational database is going to outdated. We have to do some other than that. One is scaling problem. Scaling is very important. How much data we can store maximally, even though in the relational also. Because the more number of data it is going to store in a particular table, definitely it is going to become slow. But our aim is to quickly get that particular data. Next is volatility of the data. With the relational database, it is critical that the schema be designed correctly from the beginning, because what is the schema, what we are going to design, the table format, it should be proper. Or in between the schema, it's going to change. Not static schema. I'm speaking about the dynamic schema. Definitely, it is going to become slow. To deal with this, all the challenges, we can go with a better one is NoSQL, not only SQL. What is not only SQL? Structured query language is the computer language used to communicate in RDMS. In RDMS, normally we will use structured query language. But in the NoSQL, we are not going to use SQL, structured query language. NoSQL database do not enforce a strict schema. Schema, it won't say that you have to go with a strict schema like this. And they support a complex evolving data model. That is very important. That's why if it is a dynamic schema is coming, you're not going to use the RDMS database like Oracle or something like MySQL or something. You can go with the NoSQL. It will be a better solution for that one. That's why because it is going to happen is smart object data frequently is going to change. That's why we can better go with NoSQL. Smart object transmit data is challenging because it is usually of a very high volume. Definitely high volume data is going to generate, and this all high volume data we have to do the analytics also. Real-time analysis of streaming data allow you to detect patterns, anomalies that could indicate a problem or situation, because this real-time data is coming streaming, and we can find out the different patterns, or we can find out the different things from that one, or which is similar, which is dissimilar, everything we can do it. And we can do the analytics in the edge or fog or in the cloud. Major cloud analytic providers are Google, Microsoft, IBM. So many big companies already, you know, these companies, they are having clouds, and they are doing the analytics on the clouds also. Another challenge of the IoT is network analytics, because network analytics is very difficult because we cannot able to predict the data which is moving in the network. Then that is why it is saying that analytics is a big challenge for us. With a large number of smart objects, these data flows are effectively managed and monitored and secured. Manage the data, and we have to be monitor the data, what data it is moving, and we have to secure, we have to give a security to our data also. Network analytics tools, two analytics tools, one is NetFlow and one is IPFix, network internet protocol flow information export. There are two network analytics tools. Previously we studied about other analytics tools, but network analytics tools are not mentioned. That's why two network analytics tools. Next is the third topic, machine learning. One of the core subject in IoT is how to make sense of the data. From the data, we have to find out the sense. Knowledge have to be extracted. Specialized tools and algorithms we have in the machine learning. So many specialized tools and algorithms we having in the machine learning. Machine learning, deep learning, neural network, each one we having in depth, and convolutional networks are the words you have probably heard, which are in relation to big data and IoT. Machine learning is indeed a central to Internet of Things. I hope you can understand what are the meanings, what I am reading. Data collected by smart object needs to be analyzed. Definitely data, what it is coming, need to be analysis have to be do. And we have to take the intelligent actions have to take after the analysis. Performing this kind of operation manually is almost impossible. Manually, we cannot able to analyze these terabytes of data and all. We have to be do the using the some software only, some tools. Then only it can do the fast, and we can meet the threshold, because 100% threshold meeting is difficult. I want to match two phases. I say that if two phases are 100% threshold is matching, then only I can say that that is a two images are same. It's from a single person. No, maybe it is dependent. Maybe we are going to keep a 60% accuracy. Then threshold maybe I'm going to set to 60%, maybe 70% threshold, and so on. And here we have self-driving cars or self-driving vehicles. We have designed our machine learning will help a lot. Abnormal pattern recognition. People are there in the queue. One person is behaving abnormally, and we have to identify that particular person. These all the things can be found out using the machine learning concept. Machine learning is not a new concept. It is a 20th century. It is started field down of fashion in 1980s. Machine learning overview. Machine learning, we cannot able to live with artificial intelligence. That also it's a part of machine learning. AI includes any technology that allows a computing system to imitate like a human intelligence. It will imitate artificial intelligence. It will imitate like a human being. We can make a computer which is behaving like a human being, not completely 100%. We can go with some 10 or 20%. More than that, still it is difficult. A car is moving, a smart car, it having the GPS. Based upon the GPS, it is going to find it out getting the latitude and longitude direction. It is going to identify the places. Based upon the place, it is going to move. We can make the threshold for the speed as well as how many kilometers have to be moved. What is the speed? 20 mph. Above that speed, automatically the threshold is kept for 20 mph. Automatically, it have to be slow. Like that, calculations we can do. And from the facial expressions from the persons who are sitting in the car can be identified, and the mood of the person can be identified. Based upon that one, the songs can be played, and it is connected with the Bluetooth. Like that, lot of things can be do with the help of artificial intelligence. There are static rules we can make, or we can make the dynamic rules also, so that we can make machine learning in the car. The program is configured to recognize the audio pattern, each word in a dictionary, but does not know your voice, specify your accent, tone, speed, and so on. To need to record a set of predetermined sentences to help the tool match well-known words to the sound you make when you say the words. I will say here, the program is configured to recognize the audio pattern of each word. What is the audio pattern you are speaking? Each word you are speaking. What is the, we are going to recognize the word, each word. What is the meaning of that particular word? But it does not know your voice specifies. But that particular tool does not know your voice. What is an accent? Accent from one person to other person is different. Tones. Some words we are going to use different tones so that the receiver will understand the meaning of the word from the tone itself. But these all the things do not know by a machine. That is a problem. And what the speed? Some of the people will speak very fastly. And maybe a person also cannot able to understand what he is going to say. And it has to be able to understand by a machine. It is very difficult. These are the challenges also. This process is called as machine learning. Machine learning is concerned with any process whether the computer needs to receive a set of data that is have to be processed to help to perform a task with more efficiently. I hope you can understand. Machine learning is a vast field. It is majorly divided into two categories: supervised learning and unsupervised learning. In the case of supervised learning, the machine is trained with input from which it is known or correct answer. Why? Very simple example I will take so that you will understand. Human is in a cave. A human is standing in a cave. We want to find it out. In that cave, a human is standing, or a vehicle is standing, or some wood is there, some rock is there. So many things will be there. But my aim is, in that cave, a human is there or not. A cave is there, or a mile tunnel is there. We can call it as a cave. In that cave, a human is there or not. In that, maybe there, a vehicle may be there, rock may be there. We have to separate each one. That type of learning we can give for supervised learning. How to implement? With supervised learning technique, 100 or thousands of images are feed into the machine, and each image is labeled. We are giving 1,000 or hundreds of image, and it is labeled. Already you know that in the image top, we can label it. It is a human being. It is a car. It is a rock. Like that, it can be given, feed to the system. And these all are called as training set. That 1,000 images or 100 images, what it is going to set, it's a training set we are going to say. Each image having its own parameter, its own differences are there. And each image we have to be take pixel by pixel. Maybe images have to be resized to get more knowledge from that image, resolution, color depth, position of a central figure. Maybe based upon that one, that image again, what image we are giving input to the system have to be resized, have to be get more knowledge. That's very simple. Is which are the way we have to get the more knowledge from the images. Maybe we have to zoom it, or we have to resize it. We have to get it. Human images have certain types of shapes and pixel in certain locations. That means we can identify the face, leg, mouth, and so on. Next, each new image is compared to a set of non-good images, and a deviation is calculated to determine how different the new image is from the average human image, and therefore the probability that what is shown in a human figure. This is called as classification. We are given a new set of image. A new image is coming, new set of 1,000 image. Now I have a image. I have to find it out whether humans are there or not. That all the images, what 1,000 images, it is trained, and it is going to match with the new upcoming image. From there we can find it out there any humans are there or not. That type of process we will call it as a classification. Already we trained a new one is coming, we are seeing that that is same or not. That is a very simple, it's called as classification. After training, the machine should able to recognize the human shape. Already you can understand. The machine is usually tested with unlabeled picture, because label already be given there, and for the training, new unlabeled image will come. With the help of machine learning, we have to find it out. But the threshold we have to keep. I already take the example of a human being. We cannot able to keep 100% for 50 or 60 or 70%. We can say it is that much matching is coming. We will say that it is a human being. But in some cases, while keeping the threshold, we are not able to match it for more successful case. Again, I have to do the more training with more images. Then we can improve that one. Next one, another example. Speed of flow of oil in a pipe. Because we are keeping the pipe. First we will dig, and we are going to keep on the pipe, and we are putting the soil above that one. Now in that particular pipe only oil is passing. Leakage of pipe, we have to find it out. There are different technologies we have to use there. That one of the thing it is explaining here. Flow of oil in a pipe is function of the size of the pipe, viscosity of the oil, pressure, and few other factors. These are the factors which is depend upon the flow of the oil. One is viscosity of the oil. These are the things are there. There, what it is going to explain here is what you train the machine. I want to find out the flow of liquid is there or not. If viscosity is less or viscosity is high, the flow it will depend. That's why how to train it. First, with measured values, the machine can predict the speed of flow of new and unmeasured viscosity. The process is called as regression. Regression predicts numeric values. Here, the important thing is machine can predict the speed of flow. That is very important. Speed of flow is not matching a two human being. It will give as some number. Speed of flow, it will give as a numeric value. That particular one is called as regression. In the human being finding, already we say that that process we will call as classification. Some number we are getting as the answer, because viscosity is there or movement of oil is there, this much percentage movement is there, this much percentage is there, some dust is there that's not moving, then so that it is a numeric value we are going to get. That is about supervised learning. Next one is unsupervised learning. In some cases, supervised learning is not the best method for machines to help with human decision. That time we have to go with unsupervised learning. One example I will take. A company, a factory is producing the engine. Out of this, thousands engines are producing. That is my example. 0.1% of the engine is defect. I will take some 100 engines are producing, 1000 leave it. 100 engines are producing, one engine having mistake. It is very easy to find it out. No, we have to take the image, we have to match. It is very, very hectic one to do. How to do that particular one? That is a question here. That one we can do it with unsupervised learning. The engine is produced, engine have to be connected with that particular machine, have to be run it, right? Then have to be tested, then only have to be moved to the which place have to be kept, there I have to deploy. Deploy means we have to arrange or we have to keep that particular machine there. That is a process in a company. Once we kept the engine, we can test so many things. Sound, what is coming from the engine, what is the pressure it's going to generate once it is running, what is the temperature, and so on. We can find it out. Once the data is recorded, you can graph these elements relation to one another. Once we got this data, sound, pressure and all, we can make a relationship between sound and pressure, temperature and pressure. Like that we can make it. You can then input this data in your computer, use mathematical functions. Some mathematical function means some formulas have to be given. For example, you can may decide to group this engine by sound. They make at a given temperature. For this temperature, this many engines are making less sound. This many engines are making medium sound. This many engines are making huge sound. Like that, you can differentiate. If the sound is too high, then that particular engine is having some problem. Like that. You can go with K-means clustering. Already you studied in machine learning. K-means clustering algorithms. Find the mean value for a group of engines. For example, a group of engines, we are not going to take a single one here. That means K-means clustering, it is coming. For example, mean value of temperature, mean frequency is like that. If they are grouping that engine, it will be quickly to find it out. That is very important. All engines of the same type produce sound and temperature in the same range as the other members of the same group. If all the engines are having the same type, same way it is manufactured, most of the engine is going to produce the same way only. Few it is going to produce in different way. Here it is going to show one example. From there we can find it out a good or bad. Next slide it is there. They are taking 3 components, 4 distinct group is going to generate. 3 component, component 1, component 2, component 3. You see here, how many different colors are generated? Red, blue, some yellow, some green. You see here, so many engines. You take the engine. This all the engines are of same type. It is producing the same sound. See here, this particular red, it is somewhat outside from this one. That means that particular engine having some different sound or some different thing it is there. You see the blue, that forms of engine, it is producing a same sound or something, but you see this may be getting some huge sound or something less sound. That's why it is different. Here also you see somewhat red, or it may not be orange, something is getting green. Here green it is getting some sound, but here you see some difference is coming. That what you have to see here, you have to be analyzing in a different dimensional manner we are going to do, right? Like a 3D manner we are going to analyze. You see here, some of the things are getting same, some it is getting have in a different manner we have to get behavior. Some then we can test this particular one machine. What is the problem for that machine? That's it. I hope it's clear. That is about the clustering methods, right? Unsupervised and supervised learning. Next is neural network. Multiple dimensional requires a lot of computing power, because these all the things are required. Lot of computation power, strong system is required to do. What parameter to input, what have to be combined, what are the warnings have to get, these all the things have to be get in a perfect time. The computing power also is very important. Supervised learning is efficient only with a large data set. A training set it is more, the number of images to feed to the system is more, we will get a better result. more number of matching. Otherwise, it is difficult. ML, machine learning started long back, already we said. 1980s to 90s, the cost of the machines was huge. That's why the fast machine, if you want to purchase, you have to pay a lot. 2000 onwards, cheaper computer is going to get, because our embedded technology, it is going to become cheap. That's a major important thing. Immense progress has been made in efficiency of the algorithm, and the algorithm in the machine learning also, it is more growth happen in 2000s. Take the case of a human shape recognition for mining operation. That means we want to find out it is a human or a car. It is very easy, because car did not have a leg, arm and all. Easily we can find it out. For if you want to discuss a human from another mammal, it's very difficult. We take two humans, have to differentiate. It is very difficult. Same goes for telling a difference between a pickup truck and a van. That also it is somewhat difficult to find it out. You can tell when you see one, but training a machine to differentiate them requires more than a basic shape recognition, because not even a basic shape in the case of a human being to be recognized, it's not that much easy. This is where the neural network we can come into the picture here. Machine learning method that mimic the way the human brain works. Here the neural network is a form of it is using the machine learning methods only. There, what it is going to happen is, it will work like a normal human brain, how it is working. That is very important here. And firstly, here it is zones. It is divided into multiple zones of brain. One zone, it will find it out the color. One zone will find out the movement. One zone will find out the facial expression. It's very important. First, different zones it will divide. One will only check the color. One will only check the movement. One will only check the facial expression. Later, we are going to combine everything together. Then we will find it out. It will be better. Previously, everything it is together and we are doing some calculation. Here it is not like that. Everything we are separated as zones, and each zone it is calculating separately. Then we are going to combine. That is like a human. That is like a brain, how it is going to do. For that one, we having different algorithms we have. In this one, they are given one example for neural network to recognize a dog. There, they are using some 3 layers. In the neural network, the layers are important. For identifying a dog, they are using 3 layers. First layer, explanation is here. I will explain. Second layer and third layer. In the first layer, they will check that the input is an image. You already know that. That image, there is any straight lines or sharp angles are there. Because straight lines and sharp angles are there, it is not a human being, it is a vehicle. That is the meaning. And what is the output of the first layer will give to the input of the second layer. Here what they find it out is, small percentage of sharp lines and straight lines are there, right? And then they will find in the second layer, there is any arm, face, and so on, because it is finding it is a dog or not. That's why arm, face, or something, it is there or not. Or otherwise, we can say that it is a human being or not. It will check in the second layer. First layer, straight line and sharp lines, sharp angles. It is checking for the vehicle or not. Second layer only it will check face, arms, and so on. In the third layer, they are going to compare the images of various animals and conclude that the shape is a human or not. And in the third layer, already they stored some of the images. They are compared with the stored image with the upcoming image, what image now it is giving the input, and it will check that it is a human or not. That is the next step. Input should be so many animals, because our aim is to find out that particular image is a dog or not. I hope it's clear. Next, this is a diagrammatic representation for that one. First, in the training phase, we will give so many images of animals. Their dog images also will be there. Next, we will take one image, and in that particular image, what are the training images we are given, we will give the label also. The label means it will mention one image, this is a dog, or like that label we are going to give, this is a duck, right? Different animals we are going to give, dog, cat, like that it is going to give. I hope it's clear. Next, one input image will take. It can be animal or it can be anything. One input image will take. There it is unlabeled. It is not mentioned. First layer, what it will do, already explained. It will see that here there is any straight lines or angle is there or not. That it is going to do here. Second layer, any mouth or face or something like that, it is there or not, it is going to do in the second layer. In the topmost layer, last layer, it is matching with the images. At last, what it is getting, 10% wolf and 90% dog. And we are set at some threshold value. In the threshold value, it may be sitting to 60% or 70%, which is coming. That may be that particular one. Here it is 90% is getting, that's why it is given a tick mark that image it is given input as a dog only. Next one is, in the case of supervised ML technique, now we are discussing the neural network, but the previous technique what we discussed, supervised technique, that we are going to compare, right? There in the ML supervised technique, if we are taking 100 or thousands of images, hundreds of thousands, that means lot of images we have to give as the input, and there it have to do pixel by pixel mapping. It is very complex compared with the neural network. Here, multiple research and optimization efforts are examined the number of units and layers. Here, layers are there. Each layer we are implementing some of the functionality. The type of data processed at each layer and type and the combination of and type of in this layer, what type of data I have to process, which type of algorithm I have to use, like that it is going to mention. But in the image processing technique, it is not optimized or not optimal for crowd movement classification. That is the next drawback of image processing. This is a crowd. If it is crowd, means so many people are there. If you want to classify that one, it is very difficult in the case of image processing. Next one. Another algorithm may be found in this case that would revolutionize the way these movements are processed and analyzed. The possibility are as numerous as the application where they can use. In the sense, neural network rely on the idea that information is divided into key points and each component is assigned a bit. Here, what is the meaning of this one is, what they done is, they divided in the neural network. How it is doing is, layers are divided. Once we get one component, and each one we will divide it into components, right? For example, one of the value or one of the thing, we can take the example of a dog. If it is a straight line, it is coming, already told that it is not a dog. Or a curved angle is coming, or an angle is coming, it is not a dog. There we will assign a weight value as less. Totally I'm going to take as 100. There I will assign some 10. Why? Because already that I know that that component is not a dog. Now, next one, I am finding one mouth. Mouth, if I am getting in the second layer, I am getting mouth finding is there. There I am assigning some 50. Why? Because the weight it is assigning, it is more, because that is a chance for dog. But I cannot able to say that it is 100% is a dog, because mouth can be for any animal or any human being. And ear and so on. And which is more like dog, I am going to assign more weight so that we can find it out. That is an example here. And next is deep learning. Why it is deep learning concept here coming is, more than one layer it is there, not a single layer. Then it is deep learning. Deep means in depth we are going, and there so many layers are there, so many functionalities are added in each layer, and at last the result will come with a better accuracy to find it out something or not. That is why it is deep learning. already I told more layers will be there. Data can be formatted to be better utilized by the next layer. First layer it is done, get a better data means next layer it can be get more efficiently. Next one is machine learning and getting intelligence from big data. Already you know from the big data we have to analyze it and we have to get the intelligence. What is the principle of machine learning are clear. The application to IoT become obvious. Right? If machine learning things are doing betterly for IoT, it will be good. The difficulty reside in determining the right algorithm. In machine learning, so many algorithms are there. We can do so many things we discussed, but for a particular problem, the most important problem that is going to face for the people is they have to find it out a right algorithm for solving the problem. That is a very challenging task. And what are the training methods have to be used? Decision tree model, random forest model, which have to be used, that completely may be going to get confused. That it have to take a long time to decide and have to take a right algorithm. ML operations are classified into two broad subgroups. One is local learning, one is remote learning. The name itself it is showing. In the group, data is collected and processed locally. Locally means data is collected wherever the IoT network is there. There itself we can process it. That means in the sensor, it is used in the sensor itself. It is processing. It is edge node, or it is processing the gateway. Already we discussed lot of time. It is called as fog node. Remote learning means we are going to analyze that particular data in the cloud only. That is remote learning. Next one is regardless of the location where data is processed, common application of ML for IoT revolve around four major domains. There are four major domains it is saying. First is monitoring. Monitoring means just to monitor the environment. That is monitoring. Data is processed to better understand the condition of data is processed and we have to monitor that particular data. That is the main thing. After processing that data, we can monitor it. One example it is given here. We will see that one. This condition can be referred to external factors such as air temperature, humidity, or presence of carbon dioxide in the mine, or to operational internal factors such as pressure of the pump. Just we are analyzing that. What is the temperature now? That is the example. What is the humidity now? What is the carbon dioxide amount it is producing? What is the pressure of the pump? Just we are analyzing that about in the case of monitoring domain. Four domains are there. First domain is monitoring, just monitoring the things. The name itself it is showing. Next is not even monitoring, behavior also it is finding. That is behavior control. Monitoring commonly works in conjunction with the behavior. First we will monitor, then we are taking the behavior. When a given set of parameters reach a target threshold defined in advance, that is supervised learning only, or learn dynamically through deviation from mean value, that is unsupervised monitoring function. Here it is very simple here. What it is the meaning here it is pointing is, for example, one temperature I am monitoring. Temperature is rise above 35 degrees, some alarm have to do. That is the meaning here, behavior thing. There it is just monitoring. Here after monitoring some behavior it is going to happen. That is alarm is going to make sound. Next, alarm can be relayed to a human, but a more efficient, more than an alarm, more efficient method and more advanced system would trigger a corrective action such as increasing the flow of fresh air that we can do. If some temperature is more, some fresh air have to be come inside in the mine tunnel. Turning the robot arm, one robot is there, once the temperature or something is happening, robot arm have to be raised. Like that, some operation also have to be happen after monitoring. Next is operation optimization. Behavior control typically aims at taking a corrective action based on threshold. I told threshold value is going to keep some temperature is 30 or 40 like that. Based upon that one, some action have to do. That is a behavior. However, analyzing the data can also lead to change that improve the overall process. This is the example I will explain here. In a smart city, there is a water purification plant. Just to think that there are two competitor company it is implemented. Water purification plant means they may add some chemicals, they may stir it, mix it in the water, and they are going to purify that particular water. What the municipality people want is, what are the chemicals they are putting, they will monitor it from both the company A and company B. Then which one is the better one and which is using the less chemicals, that they will find it out with the help of neural network, and they can use that particular company for the future also. That is called it as operations optimization. Operation is happening, we have to optimize it. Who is better, we have to find it out and have to better to use that particular one. Next one, self-healing and self-optimization. Fast developing aspect of deep learning is closed loop. ML based monitoring triggers changes in machine behavior. The change is monitored by humans and operational optimization. I will explain that one. In turn, the ML engine can be programmed to dynamically monitor and compile new parameters. Here the example, if I am explaining, I think it is fine. You will understand the things clearly. Already you know that street poles are there. Pole is nothing but street light we are keeping in some post. We will call it as pole. Right. In that pole, we can keep so many sensors. So that if some vehicles are going, pollution related sensors if you are keeping, we can find it out the pollution, how much it is generating. And we can keep the humidity sensor, pressure sensor. This all we will call it as smart city. There it is going to keep these all the things. Like that, if you are going to keep, for example, based upon the lighting, afternoon 12 o'clock, street light did not want to glow. Already you know. Based upon the intensity of the sunlight, the street light have to glow. Now, street light can glow from 6 o'clock and it is not that much dark. That intensity of the bulb can be reduced at that time. And it is moving to 7:30, the intensity can be increased. These all the things can be implemented with the help of Internet of Things. That is the best example of self-healing and self-optimization. Based upon the need, it is going to work. It is self-healing. Some problem is there, it is going to solve it. That is a better example for that one. Next is predictive analysis. That example I will explain. In the case of locomotive, locomotive means it's the engine of a train. Just to think that in that train, there are so many bogies, carriages. There, what are the things it is monitoring is very important here. That you have to understand here. How much weight it is coming to a wheel, that it is monitoring. And how much pull it's given from one compartment to other compartment. This all the information it is collecting and given to the driver, because driver will get a clear idea about what is happening, because he is in the front side and he is operating that train having 15 to 20 bogies maybe. That time he should know more. That is why this all the things we can implement. It is a predictive analysis. Not even that one. We can keep the cameras near to the track and we can use the audio sensor. While the train is moving, that audio it can be recorded. And any problem is happening there in the track, we can identify. Like that, we can monitor a lot of things. Using the camera, we can find it out in the track, there is any crack is there or not. Like that, everything we can find it out. What is the use of that? This is everything. Why we are doing this everything? In the future, while designing the things, we can do the improvements. Or in other way, if some crack is finding in the rail, immediately the information is going to the driver, he can stop it. It's called preemptive maintenance. Immediately, preemptive, it is going to happen. That is why it can be maintained and so many accidents can be avoided. That is an example of predictive analysis. In the next video, I will explain about big data analytics tools and technology. That is the fourth topic. Thank you. Thank you very much.